Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be recapping a new manhwa and it's called The Player Hides His Past. And yeah, we're just going to get right into it. Hope you guys enjoy. So chapter 1 starts with this man in a tux looking at himself in a mirror, and there's another man looking back at him questioning who he is. The black-haired man says his name is Lee Hoyeol, and then the white-haired man says that he is Granfell Claudio Aparis Romeo. Sorry if I mispronounced both of their names. We're just gonna go with Romeo for both of them, so their both name is Romeo, and that's what we're gonna go on from here on out. So white-haired Romeo, he says that he's the successor of a great clan, and then of course the black-haired Romeo, he's like, damn, we're screwed. We then see Romeo sit down and start making tea while he thinks about his past, and he's actually a game character that he made 12 years ago when he was in his second year of middle school. Now we see some flashbacks of him actually creating Romeo and everything, and he's like, yes, I finally completed another precious version of myself. At the time he was like, oh yeah, this was great, but now that he's older he's like, yeah, when I made this, that was like the height of my puberty, so it was a little dramatic. He then thinks about how it's all because of this game's fault, and of course this game's name is History of the Arcana Continent. This game was one of the greatest virtual reality games in the entire world until the service for it was terminated, but since it was terminated, it's now getting topped by other games, but before then, it was never topped. Everyone called this game a legendary game, but the day the service was terminated for the game, the CEO actually went missing as well. The news ended up reporting about it, but at the same exact time, the ground was shaking, and then suddenly another Arcana appeared in the real world, so it wasn't virtual reality anymore, it was actually real. There was actually breaks in reality when Arcana appeared, and it was throughout the entire world, so it wasn't just in one little area. But from then, there was started to be like game-like characters, and people were assimilated with their in-game characters. That's of course when the so-called players appeared, and since then they've been using their skills from the game to defeat the monsters and save the world. Romeo sitting down looking at a TV with his younger self, he of course thinks that there was a time when he fantasized about becoming a player too, but that's when he realized that even if he were to awaken, he wouldn't be that famous. At the time, the cost of buying virtual reality or even renting one was over hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, and they couldn't afford that because of the father's business collapsing. Unfortunately, that's when Romeo realized the grim truth of reality. You know, he had no choice but to quit Arcana early on, so he couldn't really do anything within the game. We switch back to the present and we see Romeo saying that, oh man, I wish I never quit the game, you know, since I didn't get to play it for even a full year, my level and stats are all still crap. Fortunately for him, he was able to awaken his power, but to think it would spawn the character that he made 10 years ago during his puberty is actually crazy for him. Romeo tells us about the character he created, and he was the successor of a great family, but unfortunately his family was massacred by a demon, and he was left all alone. In order for Granfell to get his revenge, he became a demon hunter, but Romeo was like, this was a whole pointless and cringy story that he played with, and it was another persona that he thought he possessed when he was in middle school. And at the same exact time, it's also Romeo's dark past, and he thinks that it could have been another memory to laugh at when he was in middle school, but as a grown man, he just has endless sources of embarrassment from it. Of course, Romeo's not the one controlling his body, it's Granfell, but he sees him and he's saying, oh, I miss those memories, while Romeo's like, bro, stop talking in that weird manner, please. Romeo is sweating bullets. He has no idea what he's supposed to do at work tomorrow. He doesn't know if he's allowed to even function properly as a member of society the way he talks now. He instantly was like, yeah, no, I can't do this. He's definitely gonna be sued if something happens. He also thinks about how every single time he says something, it comes out completely different, and he thinks about how when other people got assimilated with their game characters, it wasn't like this for them. They didn't have a different personality or a different person in general, and he questions, hey, why is this like this for me? He thinks that he's not going to be able to really work anywhere, so he's going to have no choice but to become a player, but he doesn't really remember much except for just a couple things from 10 years ago. He starts to think about doing research, so he looks at his laptop since he really doesn't know anything about what it takes to become a player. He says that the money that ranker players earn while clearing high level ruptures is about hundreds of millions, but then again, it's like, high risk, high reward type of a thing. Not only is his own life more important, he also says that, he has already tasted the ends of amputance, so he has no need for such greedy things. That's why he's gonna start looking at what it takes to become a demon hunter nowadays, and he finds this webpage or this page and everything that only has 2 pages of information, and he's questioning how come demon hunters not do anything, or if they do anything. They end up finding something that tells them that the Akshan base was destroyed, and that's the town to become a demon hunter and the holy land of demon hunters. Romeo was like, there's no way, it's not like nobody plays this role anymore. But then again, the character was basically, deleted, because back then, demon hunters really didn't do anything 10 years ago. Not only did they have low stats, it was also awkward for them to build their own path, and even then, their skills were pretty weak. But also, it doesn't help that since leveling up was much harder for them through hunting monsters, they were forced to, go to quest lines and level up through them. However though, when they were fighting demons, they were incomparable to any other class, but since you could only get, demons to appear, was really in demon hunting quests, which really wasn't that many, so the role was pretty much pointless to play. Unfortunately, most people thought that demon hunting was considered the most useless class. Romeo thinks about the class being useless and not being able to proceed to the next class are 2 different things, so this is pretty bad, especially since all the skill teaching NPCs are dead. Romeo questions if there's anything else he needs to know, and then he sees this update log. It says demons are going to be added in the next update. Romeo questions if the demons have really appeared in reality, but then also wonders why have the demon hunters not taken care of them. But then he thinks it's like maybe he's the only demon hunter left, and maybe he's the one that's gonna have to take care of him. He thinks back 10 years ago if the demons that he knew back then are the same demons that are appearing now, but he really doesn't know, and he questions what could he really do. The Romeo from 10 years ago says that he is weak, and Granfeld is not, and he does not run away from any problems regarding demons since that is his pride. Romeo's like, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, let's do this thing. And of course, out of his mouth, he was like, that was a pointless thought. There was no need to even hesitate. He says that they shall all be honored since he will make sure they all return back to hell. Several years have passed after the Great Cataclysm, and many things were destroyed, but fortunately people were able to get back on their feet, and life came back to, being on the streets, and everything kind of just normalized again and adjusted. However, as you all may know, where there is light, there was also darkness, and the negative emotions of the newly adjusted people made great food for the devil. And we actually see this guy that looks to be possessed, and he was like, alright, let's go with these guys for this time around. And so he unleashes like this aura type thing which enshrouds over them. We switch to this one guy out on a sidewalk, and he's like, okay, this last guy's a little bit late. There's still a minute left until he gets here, so let's just wait a little bit more. And he is the actual party leader, and he's a tanker. The party leader then spots Romeo, and Romeo's like, oh, you guys are already here, my bad. And he's like, okay, well, that's the last party member. You're here just on time, so nice to meet you. Romeo then looks at the rupture, and he's like, huh, I see. This is how players saw it. As you could see, normal people aren't really affected by the rupture, but I would be one of them if I had not awakened. He says that it's actually more important that it fits his level because he's only level 55 and it's fit for level 35 and 40. But he also looked into it, and the average level player that goes into these things is level 200. He says that he's gonna need to keep working hard to level up, and thankfully high level players aren't the only ones who awakened, so he was able to find a party with similar average levels to his. All the party members say that they're glad to be working with everyone, and the party leader was like, well guys, considering the progression rate, I think another party already went in, and we'll go in too, but we'll do that in like about 5 minutes from now. So we get a little bit of information about the progress rate, which means that if it reaches 100%, all the monsters will end up coming to the real world. But that also means the current players are allowed to freely raid the ruptures as long as, the rupture rate doesn't reach over 100%, and it's kind of like a ticking time bomb in a way. The party leader's like, all right, guys, it's been 5 minutes. We should get going now. And everyone's like, all right, let's go. And one of the guys was like, hey, I'm pretty excited to fight. Romeo's thinking to himself, he's like, dang, everyone's pretty friendly. And he should also say something as a party member as well. And then he says the most dumbest thing. He's like, you need not to worry, for I am here. And, Romeo's like, bro, what did I say? Why am I saying it like I'm a king? The party leader is like, haha, you're all aware, by the way, of what kind of monsters a knoll is, right? And they're like, yeah, of course, we fought one a couple of times, as they just completely ignored what Romeo just said. He's like, dang, let's just not say anything anymore. Like, I just don't want to. So then they enter the rupture, and it's called the Knoll's underground storage, and it's actually a food storage, but I see no food anywhere. And they also is like a train station, so like there's just broken devices, blood all over the floor, and they all notice it. The one lady was like, I don't see any Knolls around despite the name. And the party leader's like, a party definitely came in here before us, but do not worry, we'll be able to take our share if we just take the right route. They all say that they're ready and they believe him, and they're ready to kill some Knolls. But Romeo's like, something is off. The party leader then spots Knolls 70 meters away, and he's like, hey, everyone get ready for battle. And they're like, oh yeah, wait for me though. Romeo's thinking about the party and the people they got, and they have one tanker, 2 close range dealers, and 1 magic person. The combination is pretty normal, but the tanker's aggravating the monsters instead of protecting his party, which doesn't really make too much sense. Romeo questions if this is how people usually do this stuff nowadays, but then he's like, I guess it's not my problem since I'm completely useless right now. And then he ends up checking his inventory, and he's like, this is the problem. I have no useful weapons, and I should fight as little as I can as possible until I get a weapon. Suddenly an arrow starts to get pointed at Romeo, and of course he notices, while everyone says, hey, there's an ambush behind the pillars, as they shoot the arrow towards them. The party starts to be struggling, and this tanker's like, hey, I can't take care of most of them, like I can't defend you guys at this rate. And then the party leader ends up walking away. He completely just disregards them. One of the damage dealer guys is yelling at him. He's like, hey, what are you doing? Get back here. But suddenly a Knoll comes up from behind him. But luckily, we got our boy Romeo shooting an arrow, and he's like, yeah, looks like I just tamed this beast. He's like, unfortunately, it doesn't really suit me, so punishment is definitely necessary sometimes. And this guy's like, oh, hey, thank you. And he's like, I don't know why I keep talking like this either. More Knolls keep moving on, and they keep getting from behind and everything like that. And this mage is like, I don't know what to do. And of course, Romeo's like, yo, you need to calm down. I'll get rid of the ones that are approaching us and use a strong spell, even if it takes a while to cast. She agrees while Romeo shoots another Knoll, and the damage dealer is like, how much time until you're done casting? And she's like, I'm almost done. And then she's like, all right guys, it's ready, everyone watch out. And then she shoots fire arrows, which makes a huge explosion. The damage dealer questions if it's over, and then the mage was like, hey, are you all right, Romeo? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine, just look after the other teammates. He walks up to the Knoll that he actually ends up shooting. He's like, oh, this arrow, I could pick it right back up. That's pretty interesting. And of course the mage is running up to the other teammates. He's like, here's a healing potion, drink it before more get here. And they're like, oh, thank you. Suddenly the party leader comes back up, and he was like, yo, like, what was going on? Are you out of your mind? What the hell were you doing? You can understand that this is not a case where you just leaving us all by yourself. The party leader then starts smiling and laughing, and he's like, oh man, look at these idiots. And the damage dealer is like, you are laughing at us right now? You think this is actually funny? You think we aren't worth anything just because you got some famous brother? And the party leader, he was like, did you ask if this was funny? Well, of course it's funny. He was like, how could it not be funny when a bunch of idiots are struggling right in front of me? And he keeps laughing over and over again. Suddenly, Romeo activates his skill called the Natural Enemy, and his battle power will increase while he's fighting a demon. And of course, he's like, so you're a demon? And he's like, it's about time you all realize, you idiots. Everyone was like, wait, what? There's a demon? And this one guy says like, what are you talking about? A demon? He's like, how could he be a demon? Suddenly, he gets engulfed with this like black vision, and he sees the other party members in front of him, and they're like, help us, like as they're bleeding and everything. And he's like, oh my god. And he starts screaming. It looks like each and every one of them is actually becoming weak to whatever attack that this demon dude is doing, and they get fear and they're like, somebody help us please, while this dude's laughing. He's like, shiver in the fear of the illusions they dream of themselves. We then see Romeo trying to sneak up on him, and this guy's like, you don't even care if this human dies. And he was like, you should know that if you kill me, this human also dies too. Romeo's like, dang, okay, well, I can't pierce his armor, so I should probably go for the gaps. And this demon dude, he's like, you still gonna try to attack me despite all that, as he tries to attack Romeo. He then gets from behind the demon, and his power is actually increasing because he is fighting a demon. He is a demon hunter, but unfortunately it doesn't really do much. It still doesn't pierce him in the back, but it does start leaving cracks in the armor. And the demon dude turns around and he's like, silly, humans are all so fake. He's like, you were all friendly with this human just a minute ago, and now bang, suddenly Romeo comes in and slices this whole entire dude's front face. And I'm like, damn, what's going on? He falls to the floor and he's like, I was just slashed, me, by a mere human? What is this, silver? Romeo stand on business. He's like, don't even try to talk to me. He's like, I don't want to talk to my prey. And this guy is on the floor. He's like, where did it all go wrong? And he actually ends up getting a flashback of him and his brother talking about some stuff. And he's like, I just wanted to not live like a loser. All he wanted was to be a brother his younger brother could be proud of. And then this demon's like, hey, I can help you. And he's like, you could just watch from the back, as he ends up taking control of this dude's body. And so of course the demon keeps trying to rush in, but the actual dude itself, the actual, captain of the team, the real captain of the team, he's like, no, I don't want to put everyone in danger. And if it wasn't for me, and then suddenly he gets slashed once again by Romeo. The demon screams in agony as it hurts, and he's like, how dare you? Do you know if you kill me, you'll kill this person too? It's like, do you want to be a murderer? And then Romeo's like, oh, I get it. Is that your pride? And he actually sees like an illusion type thing. I don't know if he actually sees it or he just thinks he sees it. But the actual captain, the guy that's being possessed, is holding back the demon so, Romeo could finish the job. Of course, Romeo goes in to finish the job, which ends up slicing the demon's head off. And he was like, that pride, I received it. And he says the captain's name. And suddenly, actually, the captain does wake up and he's like, a demon? Huh? And then this guy's like, oh, wait, what? I swear I was just possessed. He was like, are you okay? The other team members are like questioning. It's like, yo, are you good? And he's like, but I thought I was stabbed. And then, Romeo's like, hey, you don't need to worry. I told you. It's like, for I am here. Romeo tells all of them that humans have negative emotions which empower the demons, so be prideful and have no fear for those demons. Fortunately for the party leader that was possessed, demon hunters' attacks don't actually affect the person, they only affect the demon. And so Romeo's like, luckily I didn't forget that logic despite how long it's actually been. And then he's like, dang, no item drops, really? Like, come on now. We then switch to a building and we actually see the party leader talking to his brother, and he's like, are you really asking me to believe that? Even if I am a guild leader, I'm just taking in a person based on a post like that? That's a little bit much. And he's like, the party leader that was possessed was me. And this guy's like, what? As he's pouring out his coffee. Alrighty everyone, so that's gonna do it for the 3 chapters we recapped. And again, this is called The Player Hides His Past, and hopefully you guys all enjoy. If you guys did like it, leave a comment down below letting me know you guys want some more. Also like the video if you really did have a good time listening to me recapping it. And if you're new here, subscribe. It does, help grow my channel. And yeah, but without further ado guys, have a great rest of your day and bless you all.